My name is Harold, a 37-year-old general surgeon and single father to my 12-year-old son, Mason. In my family, I'm the reliable one, not the prodigy, not the failure, but the one who shows up, carries the load, signs the forms, pays the bills, and stays silent. I grew up in a cramped two-bedroom apartment where you could hear the neighbors cough through the walls and my father's television blaring. My mother ruled with her tone. A blender whirring at 6:20 a.m. meant she was content. A loud TV by breakfast signaled Dad's bad mood. My younger sister April was the cherished one, soft-spoken, wide-eyed, the kind of person adults shield without question. I learned early that being dependable doesn't mean being noticed. People picture surgeons as glamorous. It's not. It's 4:45 a.m. alarms, coffee that tastes like tin, scrubs that carry the faint scent of antiseptic. You master precise, small tasks, slice here, avoid there, scrub your hands, secure the vessel, document the case. Most of my life is routine and quiet choices. Money, I don't discuss it. I earned scholarships, slept in call rooms with a coat as a pillow, paid off loans, and kept my finances private. Not out of shame, but because in my family, numbers become debts. Say you have enough and someone needs it. Say you don't and you're ungrateful. So I stayed quiet. Even when the private clinic hired me and my best month hit nearly $30,000 with overtime and surgeries, I told Mason I mend stomachs and my job is to come home whole. That's all. Mason is a straightforward kid with a loud laugh and no filter. Mom adores that about him. She'll lean down to his level and coo, "Tell me everything, sweetheart. What does your dad eat? Does he sleep? Does he hide things?" Mason fidgets and dodges. Usually. Saturday night was my parents' 40th anniversary dinner at a fancy restaurant. White linens, flickering candles, the kind of place where they sweep crumbs between courses and you feel your shoes are wrong. We arrived at 7:08 p.m. Dad was on his second glass of wine. Mom wore a glittering dress and a dazzling smile. April snapped photos with a flash like we were heading off to university. "Family united," April sang. "Family above all," Dad said, clinking his glass against mine without meeting my eyes. Dinner followed the usual pattern with fancier props. "Harold, trim your hair like that news anchor. Harold, delegate more. Harold, don't let your job become your spouse." I chewed and nodded. Mason studied the menu like it held buried treasure. The bill arrived in a sleek black folder, the total tucked inside like a secret. I placed my card on top. The waiter left. That's when Mom leaned toward Mason with a warm smile that seems kind until you hear her words. "Is your dad still underpaid at the hospital?" she murmured. Mason blinked. I don't know money stuff, Grandma." "How much does he earn?" she pressed, eyes on me, voice honeyed. "Just a rough guess, Grandma won't tell." Mason flushed. "I saw an email once, 30-something. $30,000 a month, I think." April gasped like it was a TV show. Dad set his glass down too firmly. 30, he repeated, savoring it. "Fascinating." My throat burned. "Mason," I said softly, "you don't need to. It's family." Mom cut in, tapping the bill. "Family Harold." She slipped her fingers under the folder, lifted my card, and gave a small wink. "Just using this for one tiny charge," she whispered. "A little help for April, family above all." Dad chuckled. "The surgeon can cover it." Mason looked ashamed. I stared at my hands and did what I always do. Breathed, counted, and let the moment pass. No speech, no fight, not yet. We sang for dessert, took more photos, and I kissed my parents goodnight in the parking lot. The first bank alert hit at 12:11 a.m. Transaction approved. I didn't know then that her quiet whisper over the tablecloth was the crack where everything spilled out. Cash, trust, and the fragile loyalty we'd mistaken for love. I went home, tucked Mason in, and watched alerts pile up like a slow leak. I didn't answer. Dad's toast rang in my head like a tired punchline. Family above all. I stayed silent. Not yet. This didn't begin at an anniversary dinner. It started years earlier with unspoken rules nobody needed to write down. I'm the one who handles things, fixes tires, books flights, fills out forms, deals with insurance. Harold will take care of it. In residency, I worked extra shifts to keep my electricity on and my fridge stocked. At home, I covered small costs that grew claws. Mom's utility bill just this once, Dad's phone plan, because it's glitchy, April's car insurance with a "I'll pay you back Friday" promise. Fridays passed, promises vanished into shadows. It's hard to explain to outsiders. If you're steady and capable, your family builds a ladder on your spine and calls it devotion. I carried them for years because that's what good sons do, and because I feared being labeled selfish. April never got that label. She was asterisk special asterisk, delicate asterisk, just needs a hand. We used to laugh that April could turn a speeding ticket into a manifesto. Unfair system, she'd say, and someone, usually me, paid it. Her apologies were poetic, her tears photogenic. Then it happened again. Back then, I didn't have $30,000 months to conceal. I had $2,300 in my account and loan payments that made my stomach churn. When the clinic offered steady work and I finally saw a path forward, I vowed to stay discreet, save for a house, set up a fund for Mason's future, keep my old Corolla running. No posts, no boasts, no telling Mom. But in my family, silence invites questions. If you don't share, they probe. If you decline, they speculate. If you evade, they resent. One evening at 9:37 p.m., Mom called. "Your sister has a chance," she said. "A training course, it'll change her life." "How much?" I asked, automatic. "Just a bit," she chirped. $1,500 now, $1,500 later. Pocket change for a surgeon. "I can't," I said, silence. Then her icy tone, "Excuse me?" I explained I was saving for Mason in a place near the hospital. "I'm not an ATM." "You sound heartless," she snapped. "We raised you better, family above all." She hung up. 4 minutes later, April texted, "You're harsh, Mom's not sleeping." Pleading blue, that was the first time April called me harsh. The second was when I refused to co-sign a lease for a trendy loft she couldn't afford. The next morning, Dad stood outside the hospital, arms crossed like a guard. "You're not abandoning your sister," he said, voice low. "I'm not her bank," I replied. "I'm a surgeon. I cut people open and try to send them home breathing. That's my role." He squinted. "You used to be grounded." "I'm the same," I said. "Your expectations shifted." "We gave you everything," he growled. I saw flashes bussing tables in college, studying in crowded hallways, borrowing for tuition, selling my guitar to cover someone else's bill. I said nothing. Silence is my first language. April mastered the art of just a little. "Just this once, Harrow, you'll get it back. Swear. $280 here, $340 there, $560 later. Small sums don't ruin you. Together they teach you people will climb on you as long as you don't flinch. With Mason, it's different. His shoes for his odd-shaped feet, books that smell like fresh ink. Therapy when his stuttering started because my hours made him bite his nails until they bled. Those are bills I pay with a smile. But I also learned to shield his innocence from my family's prying. Mom treats kids like tiny spies. "What does Daddy do? Does he stash cash? Got a secret account?" She makes it sound playful. It's not. When the clinic contract started, I swore I'd be unremarkable. I wanted a key to a place I could crash between shifts, a savings account labeled Mason, 18 asterisk, and to stop calculating gas like a math test. I didn't want to post or explain. Then Mason told Mom a number he saw on my phone because he's 12, honest and literal. He thought he was sharing my favorite color. That number spread through the family like a flare. It lit up every ask they'd been holding back. "You're fine," the subtext screamed. "You can carry this. You're supposed to." At the anniversary dinner when Mom took my card for one small charge, I recalled a different table, Christmas when I was 15. I'd saved for weeks to buy April a sketchbook because she doodled dresses on every envelope. Mom opened it, smiled, said, "So sweet, honey." April set it aside and muttered, "That's it." She didn't mean to gut me. She did. I swallowed and vowed not to cry around people who claimed to love me. So when the first bank alert hit at 12:11 a.m., asterisk approved asterisk, I did what I do in the operating room. I counted. 12:44 am approved, 1:06 am approved, 1:44 am approved, 2:17 am approved. It wasn't theft. It was a trickle. The charges were aid for April, transfer to April, utilities, rent. Familiar names, but my signature. At 3:32 a.m., I looked at Mason asleep, mouth open, hair mussed, belt still on his hoodie from passing out in the car. He looked too small to be caught between adults and their numbers. I whispered, "I'm sorry for tonight," to a sleeping kid, not for the money for letting him be cornered into talking. By 4:20 a.m., the group chat started. "Mom, don't overreact. It's a small payment. We'll talk tomorrow." Family, "April, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll explain Monday. Love you. Dad, grow up." Family isn't a spreadsheet. By 5:56 a.m., my balance showed a void, not zero, a chasm. Minus $38,000 if the pending charges cleared. It felt like watching a patient's incision widen beyond the first cut. Not an error, a decision. I brushed my teeth under the harsh bathroom light that makes everyone look ill. My hands stayed steady. I'm built for pressure. At 7:02 a.m., I decided to do one silent act. No speech, no battle, one clean move. Not yet, I told myself. First, hear them say family like it pays bills, then act. Sunday at noon, I went to my parents' apartment, leaving Mason with a friend. No homework, no guilt, no splash zone. Mom had papers spread like she'd been plotting since dawn. Highlighters, printed emails, her tight smile. Sit, she said like she was the physician. Dad leaned back, arms crossed. April stood by the window, face swollen from crying or sleeplessness, hard to say. It was a mistake, April started. I needed to cover a small debt, then fees piled up. Not fees, I said. Payments in your name, transfers to your account, advances on my card. Mom raised a hand, the universal calm down signal. Harold, nobody's attacking you. We can sort this. She slid a spreadsheet toward me. If you cut your extra spending. What extra spending? I asked. She smiled like I was charming. Gym, fancy coffee, apps, you know, I laughed, humorless. I work 60 hours a week. My hobby is sleeping 3 hours. Dad tapped the table. Enough theatrics, what's done is done, do the right thing, fill the gap and move on. The gap is $38,000, I said, letting the number land. That's not a gap. That's a canyon. Family above all, Dad said like he'd coined it. Family is you, Mom, April, Mason. Mason's not part of this, I said. Don't quiz him about my money, he's a kid. Silence. April swallowed. I'm sorry, she whispered. I thought you thought I'd stay quiet like always. Mom straightened. We're not letting you play victim. How many times did we support you? I asked when I'd been cruel just to hear it aloud. When you were in school, we saved leftovers. We bought your white coat. We watched Mason. You watched him 2 afternoons, I said. I paid for the coat in 3 payments. Dad clicked his tongue. Ungrateful. April, voice thin, went for guilt. I could be homeless. I kept my eyes on my parents. You can stay with me for 2 weeks. I'll help you make a realistic budget. We'll call your landlord. I'll drive you to job interviews. I won't abandon you as a person, but my accounts are locked. Dad smirked. That's your help, some surgeon, all skill, no soul. I'm a father first, I said. Mom pinched her lips. Check your heart. You're bitter. I held her gaze and said the line I'd rehearsed since midnight, calm as delivering bad news to a patient's family. This isn't about vengeance. It's about boundaries. The room's air shifted like a sealed hatch. What do you mean no? Dad asked. I'm not covering debts that aren't mine, I said. No more card access, no more using Mason to dig up my income. Mom laughed sharply. You're blowing this out of proportion. It was a family loan. It wasn't a loan, I said. It was misuse. Watch your tone, Dad snapped. Not in this house. In this house, I said, limits are treated like suggestions. April sobbed. If you don't help, I'll be on the street. I didn't look away from my parents. You can stay with me for 2 weeks. That's my help. Dad stood, turning his back like when I was 10, signaling the talk was over. You think you're the boss now? In this family, I have the final say. Great, I said, standing. Let's start there. My family is Mason and me. Mom followed me to the door, spreadsheet in hand. Don't do something you'll regret. You'll calm down by morning. I won't, I said. April needs you. April needs limits. Harrow, please, April cried. The nickname stung old wounds. I paused. I love you, April. That's why it's no. I closed the door, no slam, just the soft click of a lock settling. At 7:20 p.m. back home, I did the silent act. I opened the banking app and froze every card. Not dramatic. Tap, confirm, done. I called the fraud line, reported unauthorized use, requested an audit, and flagged every charge linked to April. Then the critical part, I split the streams. Paychecks to a new bank. Savings to a credit union I can't access easily. Mason's fund to a separate institution. Auto transfers off, alerts on. One clean, dull move. At 8:03 p.m. the calls began. Mom, don't be extreme. I reversed some. Dad, you're a disgrace. April, I'm coming over, I'm sorry. I set my phone face down and made scrambled eggs and toast with Mason. We talked about his science project. Hearts beat with electricity, not magic, and debated ketchup on eggs. We watched a silly movie. At 10:41 p.m., I muted the family chat. Monday, 7:02 a.m., I sent one text, my policy in lowercase, no drama. Starting today, 1, no lending or sharing cards. 2, no co-signing or guaranteeing. 3, no paying others' debts. 4, don't ask Mason about my finances. 5, if you need help, I set the terms. If charges continue, I file a report. H** 9 minutes of silence. Then the flood. 7:11 a.m. first call, 7:12 second. By 8:26, 17 missed calls. By 9:50, 31. By noon, 53. My phone buzzed like a faulty drill. Mason glanced at it on the way to school. That's a lot, he said. It's noise, I replied. Noise fades. In the operating room that afternoon, between a gallbladder and a hernia, I breathed deeply. The OR is a sanctuary for those who don't pray. The patient's body doesn't care about family drama. The scalpel doesn't know your contacts. At 1:55 p.m., an email pinged. The bank froze $18,000 in transactions pending review. Not triumph, relief with a short shelf life. That evening, April arrived with a backpack, eyeliner smudged, hair in a messy bun. "Can I stay 2 weeks?" she asked, voice raw, no act. "Yes," I said. "With rules, phone off at 10:30, no online shopping. Tomorrow you go to the clinic's front desk interview I arranged. I'll cover your bus fare this week, that's it. Tonight we make a budget with real numbers." She nodded, teared up. I made tea. At 9:12 p.m., we opened her bank app and listed every subscription, every delivery, every $9.99 charge. Her spreadsheet had no Herald column, just income, rent, food, debt. It looked like an actual life. Mom shifted to health complaints, texts about blood pressure, lightheadedness. "Your father can't rest." At 10:02 p.m., she sent a photo of a home monitor. 148.92. "I'm no cardiologist, but I know numbers." I replied like I would to any patient, "Go to urgent care if you feel unwell. I can drive you." Don't use health to argue money. She didn't go. Tuesday, 6:20 a.m., Dad stood outside the hospital, hands in his coat like it was December. "You'd report your mother?" he asked. "I'll report unauthorized charges if they continue," I said. "She gave you life." "You both raised me," I said. "Now I'm raising my son, that's the cycle." "Family above all," he said, like a mantra worn thin. "Family isn't a credit card," I said. "It's a boundary." He stared like I'd spoken a foreign tongue. For the first time, I didn't need to win. I wanted to scrub in, do my surgeries, and later sit with Mason while he read about hearts beating because electricity says so. April came home smiling the next day. "They want me for a second interview," she said. "Good," I replied. "Mom says you're heartless." "She can think that. What do you think?" She twisted her hands. "Tired," I said. She paused. "Do you hate me?" "No," I said, "but I can't bail you out monthly. That's not love." She nodded, eyes wet. "You never asked me for anything," she said. "Maybe that's why it felt like there was no cap." "There's always a cap," I said. "We just didn't say it." Wednesday, Mom sent a 3-minute voice note, sobbing. "Your father doesn't get why you're like this. You broke his spirit. April might be homeless. Money changed you. You used to be kind. Money tainted you." I deleted it, not out of anger, for clarity. Thursday, 6:47 p.m., a collections agent called about Harold G. and April's debt. She'd listed my number. "That's not the debtor's number," I said. "Update your records." "Is she family?" he asked. "Yes," I said. "That changes nothing." I hung up and stared down a sterile hallway smelling of antiseptic and stale coffee. Family asterisk weighs differently with numbers attached. It can lift or strangle. Friday brought 22 new alerts. Attempted charge declined. The silent act worked. At 9:12 a.m., the bank reversed $12,700. The rest would take time. No victory, just a tourniquet slowing the bleed. Dad texted that afternoon, "Come to dinner." "We'll talk like adults." I didn't go. I grilled burgers at home. April set the table carefully like it mattered. Mason asked between bites, "What does family above all mean?" I chewed. "It means we support each other," I said, "but not by taking." "How do you tell the difference?" he asked. "Boundaries," I said. "Like when I say no games after 10, no matter how cute you look." "Oh," he said. "It's for my good." "Exactly." I glanced at April. She stared at her plate. Over the weekend, Mom posted a social media photo of her hand on Dad's, captioned, *40 years of love. Family is everything. Aunts and neighbors liked it. None saw my 2:17 a.m. alerts. Social media is a cleaned-up hospital corridor, blood swept away. Sunday, 7:04 p.m., I sent one final group text, "I love you. If you want to talk, Sunday, 5 p.m. at my place. Mason present. No yelling, no guilt. Bring paper for boundaries. If not, we can take space." 2 hours of silence. At 10:01, nothing. At 10:15, Dad left the group. At 10:18, "April, I'll come." At 10:23, Mom. "Don't dictate rules to me." I didn't reply. Monday, 7:02 a.m., I checked my phone, 53 missed calls from yesterday. Each felt like an old pattern knocking. Opened the door. Be the kid again? I didn't. I drove to the hospital, scrubbed in, closed a clean line of skin with precise stitches, and repeated to myself, "This isn't vengeance. It's closure, no cinematic ending, no apologies, no embraces, no monologues. Boundaries don't end with fanfare. They end with consistency." April took the front desk job. She grumbled about the uniform but liked her paycheck. 6 weeks later, she moved into a small apartment she could afford. Sometimes she texts her budget at midnight. I reply the next morning. Good, Mom sends health updates for attention. I respond like a doctor, go to urgent care if you feel off. She hasn't touched my account since. We talk about Mason's school and her plants, nothing heavier. It's lighter now, cleaner. Dad keeps his distance. He said family above all once more. I said, exactly, me and Mason. He didn't push back. The bank recovered some money, not all, but enough. The real win is quiet. No late-night calls, no crisis texts, no guilt essays. My home feels like a place I can breathe. Mason still blurts things, like telling his teacher I stitch people up. But he also drew us holding a giant key labeled boundary. It's on the fridge. I used to think love meant paying the tab. Now I know it means knowing where the table stops. If you need permission, here it is. It's okay to stop being useful when it means being drained. It's okay to define family as those who don't demand receipts. I'm still Harold, surgeon, dad, quiet man who sleeps through the night. I don't lend cards, cosign, or share my income through my kid. I answer calls for help, not manipulation. I help, but on my terms.